Most men spend years working on the wrong things. They obsess over their cars, their clothes, their muscles, their money. And yet somehow, the women they want still do not respond the way they expected. Something feels off, and they cannot figure out why. Here is what psychology actually reveals. The first thing a woman notices about you is not what you think. It is not your face. It is not your body. It is not even your style. It is something far more primal, far more instinctive, and far more honest than any of those things. And once you understand what it is, you will never see social dynamics the same way again. Women are not shallow, but they are deeply perceptive, in ways that most men have never been taught to appreciate. Research in social psychology consistently shows that women process social environments with a significantly higher degree of emotional and sensory awareness than men do on average. This is not an insult to men. It is simply how human psychology developed over thousands of years. Women evolved to read rooms, read people, and read situations with extraordinary speed and accuracy. So when a woman notices you for the first time, her brain is already doing something sophisticated. She is not consciously thinking through a checklist. She is feeling. She is absorbing. She is processing dozens of signals at once without even realizing it. And the very first signal she picks up on is your energy. Not your cologne, not your jawline, your energy. This sounds abstract, but it is actually deeply grounded in behavioral science. What we call energy is really a combination of your body language, your eye contact patterns, your movement quality, and the emotional frequency you broadcast into a room the moment you enter it. Psychologists call this social presence, and it is detected within seconds, sometimes within milliseconds, before a single word is ever spoken. Here is why this matters. The human brain is wired for threat detection. This is true for everyone, but research suggests women tend to place higher unconscious priority on safety cues and social power cues when evaluating a new person. So the very first question her nervous system is asking is not, "Is he attractive?" The first question is, "What kind of man is he?" And that question gets answered by your presence before you open your mouth. Now this is where most men get it completely wrong. They think presence means being loud, being dominant, taking up space in an aggressive way. But that is not what psychological research supports. In fact, men who try to perform dominance often trigger the opposite effect. Women are exceptionally good at detecting inauthenticity, and performed confidence feels hollow. It almost always backfires. What actually reads as powerful presence is something quieter and far more difficult to fake. It is the man who moves without hurry, the man whose eye contact is steady without being aggressive, the man who seems completely comfortable just existing in a space, not needing validation from it. Psychologists describe this as low-anxiety, nonverbal behavior, and it is one of the most attractive things a human being can project, because here is what that energy communicates on a subconscious level. It says, "I am not nervous about this situation. I am not here to prove anything. I am simply here." And that level of internal stillness is incredibly rare and incredibly magnetic. But that is not the full picture, because right beneath energy, The second thing a woman notices, often within the first few seconds to the first minute, is how you treat people who cannot do anything for you. This one surprises people, but it makes complete psychological sense. Women, far more than men, tend to evaluate character through peripheral behavior. Not through how someone treats them, at least not at first, but through how someone treats a waiter, how someone speaks to a friend who made a mistake, whether someone ignores the person at the door or acknowledges them. This is called social generosity reading, and it is one of the fastest ways the human brain evaluates whether someone is genuinely good or simply performing goodness. A man can be physically stunning. He can be dressed perfectly. But if he snaps at a server, ignores someone smaller than him in the social hierarchy, or laughs in a way that puts others down, something in a woman's psychology registers that immediately, and it does not go away. On the other side, a man who treats people warmly, naturally, without making it a performance, that man becomes more attractive in real time. His physical appearance almost does not matter anymore because his character is visible. And character, according to relationship psychology, is one of the highest predictors of long-term attraction. And then there is the third layer, the one most men never even think about: how you feel about yourself. Not how you present yourself, not your confidence act. How you actually feel about yourself when no one is watching. Because that inner relationship bleeds outward in ways that are almost impossible to hide. Psychologists who study self-concept and interpersonal attraction have found that people with secure self-esteem carry themselves in a way that is fundamentally different from those without it. Not arrogantly, not loudly, but there is a groundedness, an ease, a lack of emotional neediness that other people can detect even in small social moments. Women, with their heightened social sensitivity, pick up on this with remarkable accuracy. They can feel the difference between a man who is confident and a man who is performing competence. They can sense when someone is seeking approval versus simply being present. They can detect anxious attachment energy, even when you think you are hiding it perfectly. And the reason this matters is not to make you feel judged. It is to point you toward what actually works. Because the men who consistently attract high-quality women are not the ones who figured out the perfect opening line. They are not the ones with the most status symbols or the most refined surface-level game. They are the men who have done the internal work, who carry a quiet sense of security in who they are, who are genuinely interested in other people without needing anything back, who enter a room not to be seen, but simply to be. That combination, authentic energy, visible character, and internal groundedness, that is what her psychology notices first, and it is what leaves the deepest impression. So if you have ever felt invisible, or like you were saying and doing everything right but still not connecting, this might be the reason. Not because you are not enough, but because the things you were optimizing were never the things she was actually measuring. The deepest truth in human attraction is this: people can pretend on the outside, but they cannot pretend their way into genuine presence. They cannot fake true character, and they cannot manufacture real self-worth. Those things have to be built, and the men who build them, quietly, seriously, and without needing anyone to see it happening, Those are the men who become genuinely unforgettable. Not because they figured out a trick, but because they became someone worth noticing.